All right, y'all. Today, lecture is going to be on your nationality and the origin of the Federal Reserve Bank. So we're going to get right into it. You know how we do. We like to hit you hard and fast and get as much information out the way so that you know what the hell is going on. Information on which that apparently nowadays not many people are talking about on the internet. All right, so um, since it's not being done, I fill in the gaps. All right. Let me fill in the gaps. That's just what's happening. All right. So the United States Inc., the United States of America. Hold on. I don't know what's going on here. All right. So all right, let me make sure that I don't know how this keep getting up here. Oh boy. Trying to figure this thing out right quick, y'all. So just give me a second. All right, so we're gonna do it like this. All right. I had to wait for others to get on anyway because it seemed like everybody must be somewhere else tonight. What y'all doing? Celebrating Veterans Day. All right, ART watch to ish. All right. Uh can y'all hear me? I guess hit number one if y'all can hear me. If I'm clear. Because I just finished messing around with the volume and different things like that. So hit one if I'm clear, y'all. Okay, good, good. All right. And y'all can see the screen. All right, good. All right. So as I was saying, the United States Inc., the United States of America was never a sovereign nation, just a business association, folks. It's the land based states that are separate sovereign nations. And then, if you think about it, not under these names, all right? Because even though about one third of the states are indigenous names, Algonquin, Iroquois, we have to take all that in consideration. And the federal United States, comprising of 57 states, the 50 federal states plus the 7 federal territories and possessions, which are counted as states of their union, which is supposed to operate exclusively in the international jurisdiction of the sea. Amorality. And this is how they was able to take over the consular courts by 1956 and institute amorality maritime courts. The flag with the golden fringes around it. Continental United States equals 50 separate nation states operating as a nation on the land jurisdiction. And even then, we talking about the Republic, which was originally only the 13 colonies. The Empress, in her book, Return of the Ancient Ones, speaks of the fact that France never rode what is referred to as the Louisiana Purchase because it was never purchased. It's supposed to be $15 million in gold. And was never received. Service was never rendered fully. In fact, portions of the gold sunk beneath the ocean floor in Florida, off the coast of Florida. So payment was never rendered to Napoleon in 1803. And Thomas Jefferson knew of this fraud and gave his sentiments at the time concerning this fraudulent land deal. But then you have Lewis and Clark expedition, in which they took with them Ben York. Who was Algonquin and spoke Algonquin. And this is how he was able to go and travel across the so-called states in order to speak for Lewis and Clark, who did not know Algonquin. So the federal United States equals 50 incorporated franchises of the United States of America, Inc., operating the international jurisdiction of the state of the sea, plus 7 nation states: Guam, Puerto Rico, all right, the Virgin Islands, on and on, operating as the United States of America, minor, for a total of 57 states. Now, in 1953, Kitchen versus Steele, states a citizen of the United States is a citizen of the federal government. So you have Moors talking about that they are United States citizens. Okay, which one? The republic or the democracy? Because the republic is the only form of government in which that is spoken of in the Constitution, and that was talked and spoken on by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He wasn't talking about a democracy. He wasn't talking about the 14th Amendment citizen. In fact, he said that the 14th Amendment wouldn't even be necessary if it was really act according to the Declaration, or what is called the Declaration of Independence, referred to as having what? Having the ability for what, y'all? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what the Constitution guarantees. Unalienable rights. Inalienable rights. Or ineligible rights. Or uneligible rights. Unalienable rights. Rights in which that can't be leaned upon. That can't be levied against. That can't be sued against. Your God-given rights. The Constitution guarantees your God-given rights. And they say that this COVID shit isn't about that. Well, if it violates God-given rights, which you have the right over your God-given body because God dwells within you, your temple. And if you choose not to violate that, then come on. 1967, also congressional record, June 13th, 1967. A citizen of the United States is a civically dead entity. So you want to be a citizen? Moors talking about you are a citizen? Well, you're a civically dead entity. You're a civilis mortus. You in the same goddamn predicament of Martin Luther the King was fighting about in the 50s and 60s. You put nothing on the public record. You are in the same state. Shit ain't changed. You still Negro, black, and colored, even though you calling yourself a Moor, and you don't got shit on the public record saying otherwise. Countering the fraud in which that's been done against you, operating as a co-trustee or co-beneficiary of the PCT, the private constructive CTQ Trust of the United States Incorporation, under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the United States of America and the United States Incorporated. This is why most Negroes is Moors, Negro, blacks, and coloreds still pay taxes. This neatly explains once and for all what a citizen of the United States is in federal parlance, as opposed to popular speech, and underlines the need for Americans to rightly expedite from any such citizenship, and instead declare their allegiance, which is their nationality, to the land of their nativity, or their indigenous ship, their aboriginality. For example, the states, as they refer to themselves, California or Nevada or Ohio. Based on the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People from the United Nations and the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, it states that you have the right as an indigenous to be part of, to become part of, and be a citizen of the state in which that you live, or as we would say, domicile. So indigenous people, when you declare your indigenous-ship through by way of your nationality, you're no longer a citizen of the United States. You expedited yourself from the 14th Amendment constructive fraud, which the 14th Amendment itself was never fully ratified. And for some reason, I don't know why people can't wrap their head around this. A statute is not a law. So when they say, oh, you broke the law, no, it was a statute. And if a statute a code, rule, regulation, policy, ordinance do not coincide with the Constitution itself, then that is fraud. That's fraud. A statute is not a law. A code is not a law. A concurrence or joint resolution or legislation or legislator is not a law. We might use House joint resolutions, but it's not law. All codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, policies are for government authorities only, not human creatures, indigenous, aboriginal, natural being, natural person, in accordance with God's law, natural law, universal law. As ye are gods, spoken of within Psalms 82, 1 and 6 verse. John 10, the 30th verse, somewhere around there. All codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process. Lacking due process. And that they are void from ambiguity in their failure to specify the statutes applicable to natural persons, otherwise depriving the same of fair notice, as their construction by definition of terms aptly identifies the applicability of such statutes to artificial or fictional corporate entities or persons. Creatures of statutes, or those by contract employed as agents or representatives. Departmental, subdivisions, offices, officers, and property of government, but not the natural person. Only artificial corporations, artificial entities, they're property of the government. That's what you are. This is what this whole thing about this COVID shit is about, because there's a patent number 666 that they patent this Luciferase nanobot technology in which that they are injecting into your ass, the jab, and making you property of the states. They permanently own your ass now. But not the natural person or American citizen immune from such jurisdiction of legalism. So this is why they always try to shit in the kangaroo courts. You don't give consent. You give consent, your ass going to jail, you're going to pay for the statute in which that they claim that you violated, that you allegedly violated. The common law is the real law, the supreme law of the land. The code, rules, regulations, policies, and statutes are not the law. They are the law of government for internal regulation, not the law of man. I'm gonna say that shit again, because many don't understand this shit as of yet. They are the law of government. And remember, if you property of the government, then that is for you. However, if you declared your nationality, your indigenouship, your aboriginality, then it is not. So you are above the law in this case, because all these things in which they claiming is law, there's codes, rules, regulations, policies, statutes, etc. That shit ain't real. That's that Dorothy shit again. Real law is the Constitution. All right? Once again, real law is Constitution, yo. The 7 articles of the Constitution that correlates with divine law, the Amendment 1, where it states that you have the right to religion. So religion give you the ability in order to have religious protection and therefore to do a religious exemption from the jab. Amendment 5 speaks of protection of your person, due process. Protection of your person means medical. You don't have to be stuck with the jab. But Negroes aren't getting this yet. They are the law of government for internal regulation, not the law of man. And in his separate but equal station and natural state, a sovereign foreign with respect to government generally. So, statute, codes, rules, regulations, ordinances, policies, all of this shit is color of law. The appearance of law or the semblance of law, but without the substance of legal right or lawful right in this case, because everything that's legal is not lawful. Legalities, legalese, that's part of legal. Color of law, the appearance or semblance, that is not real law. All we need is the 7 articles of the Constitution, which is the Constitution for the United States of America, the organic, the Declaration of Independence, as it is called, the Declaration, the Articles of Confederation, the Articles of Association. Those are the 4 constitutions. These other 2 million laws, which is color of law, we don't need none of that shit. See, the native, indigenous people, in particular, who they refer to as the civilized tribes, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Seminole, the Creek, which is Muskogee. Those 5 are the ones on which that went into treaty with the Albion. The information is hidden right now on the Cherokee Reservation in the Western Cherokee. In North Carolina and along the Trails of Tears all the way into Tulsa, Oklahoma. But that's actually who was on the Trails of Tears. Was the Cherokee and the Creek, who once lived in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. So this definition of color of law comes from the Black's Law Dictionary. We gave the definition because we realized that many may not be aware that there is such a thing as color of law. That would be what you are learning in any law class today. Also, many may think Black Law Dictionary is indicative of a so-called Black person because the name is Henry Campbell Black. When you look up color of law, you will find color of authority, color of office, and the definition of color itself, which is an appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, as distinguished from that which is real. Now you know why we never were color people. In the 101s, it tells you that color means something that is stained, varnished, or dyed, which means it hides or covers over the true substance of the thing itself. They have you thinking that your melanin is something in which that covers over the true substance. So therefore, they can do what is known as, quote unquote, police brutality based on what is known as following or color of law. They also do what is police do something when they following you as we refer to it as driving while black. It's profiling, styling and profiling. All right, styling and profiling. That's what's going on. You styling, but they profiling. All right. So understand that the indigenous people, the Washito, Didakdamanya, and their associated tribes, which is the 5 civilized tribes as they're referred to now, in particular the Choctaw, the Creek, which is the Muskogee. All right. These particular tribes, along with the Seneca, which became an Iroquois tribe, all right, along with the Comanche, the Osage, the Quapaw, etc. These are the particular tribes in which that makes up the totality of what we refer to as Washita Nation or the Empire Washita. These many nations came together, these tribal nations came together and they formed a collective known now as the Empire Washita. And we, in collusion with our Moorish brothers from Britain, the British Moors, the Yorkshire Moors, formed the 13 colonies. All right. The Albions came in, took over, and subjugated us, relegated us to an inferior position. And we lost memory of this. We have amnesia now. But we form the republic characteristics, the de jure government, which means the true government, as compared to the de facto government, which is the false government in which that you see now. The republic characteristic versus the democracy characteristics. Constitutional legislation as compared to unconstitutional legislation, which Joe Biden is trying to do with making this jab shit mandatory. Article 3 judges authorized lawfully. Private entity barristers pretending to possess judicial authority. These are administrators. These are not judges under the so-called democracy. The fucking word democracy is not found in none of the 4 constitutions. It's not in the Articles of Association, 1774. It's not in the Declaration of Independence, 1776. It's not in the Articles of Confederation, 1782. And it's not in the Constitution for the United States of America, 1789, ratified 1791. It's not in any of those. I dare you go and find the word democracy, Democrat, in those 4. They're full of shit. Due process under the law, a republic characteristics, Bill of Attainder, lawful money, Article 1, Section 10. Federal Reserve note, counterfeit. Article 1, Section 10 tells you about lawful money. Congress has the ability in order to mint lawful money, coinage, real coinage. You get a penny from before 1965, it's real copper. Anything after that, the penny now, shit, that shit is nickel, 10. With a copper layover. Representative government, seat of government, sold to the highest bidder or briber. That's how they got this shit now. A lobbyist is a briber, a bidder. They bid for the politician favored. At Local law, where you actually can own land and not pay taxes, as compared to feudal law. They told us that that's what they was trying to get away from. Taxation, double taxation without proper representation is what they told us in school. But they still got the same shit going on. Ain't shit changed. Thought that's what the fucking Boston Tea Party was about. Throwing the teas over into the Boston Harbor. Because they was getting double taxation without proper representation. And allegedly these Albions dressed up like the Indians, the Moors. You have the Bill of Rights. The only Bill of Rights are the amendments, which is actually to 10. Anything after 10 is fraudulent. Doesn't correlate to the fact that the Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal. And even that's not true. But it's better than being in an inferior position that Negroes are in right now, and they are so happy and gullible about this shit. I hope y'all niggas wake the fuck up. Libra codes. I won't get into that right now. Check them out. Google that shit. Honorable contracts, meaning contracts were signed in front of a notary. Notary is a deputy for the Secretary of State. Adhesive contracts are what you have used to now. There's no verification of who that other person is. You told who the other person is, and they put their name on the contract, and you just sign it. Gullible. No notary public. Real and actual. Genuine. As compared to fake prima facie. Fake prima facie is colorable law. It appears to be, but it's not. Constitutional law compared to color of law. That's what you're under now. You have the separation of power between what? The judicial branch, the executive branch, and who? The judicial branch. The police, the sheriffs, and the State Highway Patrol, the DMV, Department of Transportation, all of them cross judicial violations. They no longer understand the signs between separation of powers. Once again, you have the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch. They're supposed to be separate. Legislative branch. They're supposed to be separate. Let me show you color of law. This is the state of Delaware. Delaware is the first state. So all of the corporations of the so-called United States incorporate there within Delaware, making them corporations. Here's the file number, 0325720, incorporation date, formation date, 7/12/1933. Who is that? The Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service, Incorporated. They were just incorporated July the 12th, 1933. Not even 100 years ago. But got enough power to break into your shit because you Negro, black, and colored, and confiscate your shit because you Negro, black, and colored. Artificial entity. Civilis mortuus, dead in the eyes of the law. You're not a human being. And anyway, based on the Ballotine Law Dictionary, human being is not even defined. It says sea monster. What is it? A corporation. Entity type, general, residency, domestic, state, registered agent informed, name, inactive agent account, address, Secretary of State, Townsend Building, city, Dover, Kent. Dun and Bradstreet. Look who's on the list. House of Representatives, United States, and traded as Office of Law Revision Council. That's what it is. That's what that is. Of course, Congress never called back into assembly in 1871. For all those that don't understand that shit. See, I'm a goddamn historian. I'm very clear on this. I'm trying to help Negroes, Black, and coloreds who don't have a nationality to understand the importance of one. If you don't have a nationality, I beg you to get one quick, especially if you're not going to take the jab. If you going to take the jab, then shit, nationality don't mean a fucking thing to you. Get that damn jab and let's see what happens within about a year or two. Because they got HIV in that shit. They got luciferase, which is the gel greenish substance in that shit with nanobot technology. We'll see, you know, oh shit, with these damn matter of fact, they seen what was under the microscope with this shit. A scientist recently came out about it, showed a slide presentation of these damn tentacles, octopus like looking motherfuckers up under the microscope. Nanobot technology, metal type of. This is why the magnets were sticking to these fools on TikTok, dancing and happy as hell because the magnets sticking to their dumb asses. The House of Representatives, traded as the Office of Law Revision Council. That's all they are. Law Revision Council. No fucking real House of Representatives because they don't represent you. The people, we the people, is what it states in the preamble. Lenni Lenape, we the people. It's the Lenni Lenape people, the Washington in which that met with William Penn and formed that treaty. Benjamin Banneker, known as Bembe Emmanuel Muali, was Lenni Lenape. Delaware Moore. Federal Reserve Association, formed 9/3/1914. A year after the formation of the Canaanite Temple in 1913, founded by Prophet Noble Ali, Solomon, and they put this information together known as the Canaanite Temple. Was actually a Masonic order based on the information coming from Solomon. Go to my website. I show you the pictures and the articles and everything else. I don't have time to go over that right now. That's another presentation. We'll get to that though, about the takeover of the temples that Taj is always talking about. But the Federal Reserve Association is the Federal Reserve Bank Corporation. That's all it is. And what is it? A nonprofit or religious. What? The Federal Reserve Association is a nonprofit or religious organization? That's what they set themselves up. And a nonprofit or religious organization? Well, that's what we are, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the world, under the behest of United Washington Didak Damanya Moor Nation. Our outbranch is the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the world, a nonprofit or religious organization, or in this case, a 508, not a 501c3. And in 1914, that's all it could be, is a 508. Just like Prophet Noble Ali's was set up as a 508. Just like the Vatican was set up in the exact same way. The Vatican is in the city of Rome, which is in the country of Italy. But it itself is called the Papal State. So it's its own state, it's its own Vatican City, it's its own religious organization called Catholicism, Catholic Church. All three. Hence, separation of power, separation of what? Church and state. You haven't figured this shit out yet. I'm here to help you. What is it? Domestic. Where was it filed at? In DE, Delaware. Status, void. The Federal Reserve Bank, been void. Status date, when? Been void since when? March 1st, 2001. 20 fucking years ago. It's on borrowed time. This is why they're trying to go to this new currency, digital currency. Cashless society, niggas. You get it? That's what the Bitcoin is about. Cashless society. I got to talk rough because we ain't got time to keep playing with y'all. Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service Incorporation. You know who that is? IRS. When was it formed? 7/12/1933. Corporation. What is it? General type. Residency, domestic. State, Delaware. Void. Status is void. Void, damn, just 3 years after the formation. April the 1st, 1936. The IRS been on borrowed time. Shit didn't even last 3 fucking years. The Social Security Corporation, Department of Health, Education and Welfare. What is it? Corporation, general, domestic, Delaware, filed in Delaware. Void when? March 1st, 1991. When was it incorporated? Shit, the Social Security joint wasn't incorporated until 11/13/1989 was its incorporation date. And the status was void after 2 years. So, maybe y'all missed the points in which I just made just now. Anyway, my name is Dres Scott. I sued the United States to free myself and my family, the case that broke America and led to the Civil War. Technically, that's part true. The other part was that we was whooping their ass for over 150 years. It was known as the from 1715 to 1858. 2 years before Abraham Lincoln got elected, a Melungeon who's on the brown penny, the red penny now, with his face turned towards the right, and everybody else is on a silvery looking coinage, nickel, dime, quarter, silver dollar, half a silver dollar piece, with their head turned towards the left. He's the only one whose head is turned towards the right. Think about it. Think about it. Special ed, y'all. Y'all know nothing about that shit. That's old school right there. United States, Article 1, Section 2. 1, such legislative branch. 2, the House. House of Representatives. Representatives and direct taxes shall be appropriated among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians, not taxed, and 3/5 persons. So if we was the 3/5 persons in the original Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, which they removed that, this is why we don't go by that. We go by the original Constitution, which states specifically, organic Constitution, which states specifically 3/5 person, no taxes, yo. That's what Noble Drew Ali was coming from. The previous sentence in parentheses was modified by the 14th Amendment, Section 2. But the 14th Amendment was never fully ratified. So that's bullshit. According to Article 1, Section 2, Constitution for the United States of America, it stated that we Indians, those of African descent Negroes, are classified as 3/5 of a human being, thus subhuman. This is what they are trying to say. They try to say, well, the 3/5 was based on the fact of being able to be counted for votes. Okay, that might be true. However, it's talking about 3/5 of a human being in which that you made us subhuman because you were saying that we wasn't quite human. But yet you are the mankind, a kind of man that's not quite human. This is a Masonic code. One sight and hearing, listening, deaf, dumb, and blind must be returned to be a 5/5 or one whole being again. So these are the two that is taken from you, your sight and your hearing. When you don't have sight, you're blind. When you don't have hearing, you deaf and dumb. Hence, deaf, dumb, and blind. So me as a 5%er, I'm here to resurrect the deaf, dumb, and blind. You get it? As part of the 5% nation of gods and earths, which I've been since I was the age of 14. I'm 52 now. So that's been a long time with me stomping the lessons and stomping mud holes in Negroes, blacks, and colored asses, the masses, jackasses. The 3/5 clause of the United States Constitution declares that the slave name, black, Negro, and colored person as identified in marks of the United States properties. That's what you are. The 13th Amendment abolished these slave labels and their slave masters. Actually, it did. It made it appear color of law that it did. They're making the 14th, 15th Amendments as ex post facto law to the 13th Amendment. All 14th Amendment citizens included unproclaimed and unrecognized Moors of a maxim. Moorish Americans, American sovereigns, are property of the United States of America if they don't have anything on the public record. Because you have dumbasses out here posing as Moors, telling people that they don't need no paperwork. This Masonic codes go back to the three monkeys: see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. And oftentimes a monkey is seen with a fez or a tar bush on his head, clapping cymbals. You seen that shit before? This is all a form of Shriner, Masonic Shriner mockery. At the 32nd and 33rd degree, now they can get into the third degree of Freemasonry. A person is able to join the shrindom now, wear fez, and say Assalamu alaikum or wa alaikum assalam, and etc. There's actually only two senses oftentimes. If a person is dumb or deaf, then they are also mute, meaning they cannot speak or speak very well and have to learn sign language to express oneself. This is a gohim. Is also the word used in Masonry referring to the uninitiated. Black's Law Dictionary, Deluxe, 4th edition. You don't get it? Get it. As I told you before, there's nothing worse than a slave with an ego. You got these Negroes all over YouTube who are still Negroes, still black, still colored, artificial entities, artificial corporations. These niggas are corporations running around trying to tell you and I about history, about law, about metaphysics, about the occult, about the secret teachings of the ages. Can't tell me shit because they still a fucking slave. A person who is wholly subject to the will of another, one who has no freedom of action, but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another, one who is under the power of a master and who belongs to him. So the master may sell and dispose of his person, of his industry, and of his labor without his being able to do anything about it, have anything, or acquire anything, but which must belong to his master. Now you see that. What happened with Eric Gardner? What happened with Mike Brown? These individuals killed. Wasn't a fucking thing done to these police officers. What happened to the 7-year-old boy who had the Arizona tea and Skittles? Some of y'all niggas understand the signs of the rainbow in its correct way, the chakras. But then some of you niggas like to taste the rainbow. So I just call y'all niggas Skittles. All right? Your name from here on out is Skittles. All right? Those who like to represent the reverse rainbow, Skittles. So what is a slave? Slave is chattel. What is chattel? Chattel is cattle. Chattel is the French word for the English transliteration cattle. An article of personal property. Any species of property not amounting to a freehold or fee in land. The term cattles or chattels in this case is a more comprehensive one than goods, as it includes animated as well as inanimated property. Well, mostly all of you Negro, blacks, and colors are animated. With that damn chip or with that goddamn nanotechnology in your ass, you cattle or chattel. Yeah, let me use the French word. The French word sounds so much better. Chattel. Chattel. Y'all niggas like that shit. Chattel. So, y'all like that, the French shit. All right. I got some of that in my bloodline. I'm Huguenot, nigga. I'm a Huguenot. The birth certificate and the Social Security card are forms of chattel paper. Before in slavery, some of our ancestors was branded. Now we are tracked and tagged. Most carry these documents with us all the time with no superior claim and lien on them. You carry your birth certificate around, you carry your Social Security around, you carry all these things in your wallet or so forth and so on. But you don't have no superior claim or lien on them. You don't have no lien on them. Therefore, they can lien, levy, and sue your ass because you don't have a lien on these goddamn instruments. And you got Negroes, Moors out here again talking about, you don't need to use the UCC. Nigga, you goddamn use the UCC to damn protect your property and your assets. You jackass. The birth certificate, the Social Security card are probably the best gifts, but only once you have lien those gifts. Cause what is attached to the birth certificate and Social Security card? A trust account, which can be activated at the Secretary of Treasury once you do all your documentation properly, which we can help you with that. Asset protection, UCC. You have your UCC financial statement, but some of y'all think that that's all you have to do. No, you have to do your private agreement, security agreement, whole harmless indemnity clause and property listing, your copyright, trademark, trade name, your UCC affidavit, your bond for discharge, private bond set off, non-negotiable, negotiable chargeback, negotiable bill of exchange, optional form 90, optional form 91, standard form 28, SF 181, SS4, SS5, 1096, 1040 NR, 1040 voucher. I can go on and on and on. If you haven't done none of this shit, you are still Negro, black, and colored status, nigga. You got that? Because you haven't protected your property. You haven't protected your assets. And in particular, your biological assets, your children. They still the fucking property of the war and wards of the state. And if they go to jail, they're gonna meet the fucking warden. Because they wards of the state. And so they got to go to jail, to escrow, to prison, to meet the warden, who is also referred to as the straw boss, which means they are the straw men, straw women. In other words, the straw person. And who was the first person that Dorothy met on the yellow brick road, trying to find her way back home? She met the scarecrow, the straw man, who was looking for a brain. You niggas out here looking for a fucking brain. Well, I'm here to give it to you. I'm here to give it to you. You gonna get this brain tonight, nigga. You gonna get this goddamn brain tonight. Chattel is a more comprehensive one than goods. Look at the definition of goods. Means all things that are movable. See, they can move your ass around. When security interest attaches, this include terms the unborn young of animals. See, when you look up the word human and it says sea monster, it says in their definition that it's an animal. So you are a animal. Chattel. Cattle, nigga. The term, see, when you say chattel, see, that shit, it's French, so that shit sounds good as compared to the English version, cattle, nigga. You cattle, the unborn young of a child. That's your children. Young of animals, I should say. That's your children. The term also includes a computer program embedded. Oh shit. Oh, what? The term also includes a computer program. That's the jab, motherfuckers. Embedded in goods. They just embedded it in your ass for good. And any supporting information provided in connection with the transaction relating to the program. Remember, it's called an operational program. Operating system. They tell you this shit. Go to Pfizer, Moderna. Read that shit on their goddamn website. It's an operating system. Program system, niggas. In connection with the transaction relating to the program. Because they now got you thinking that that's all you are. You simply a program. The computer system, as far as the internet service, is based like the brain. This camera is based as the eyes, or as the all-seeing eye, which is in the brain. You see into the dream world, Neos. The term also includes a computer program embedded in goods. I hope you're getting this. Come down. No, all things which are movable equals newborn children. You see how they just did that to you? This is how they can snatch your children out the home because you don't have a superior claim of lien on them. A superior lien on your children, which you can do through a affidavit of ownership for yourself and for your children. Put that at the register of deeds and then take that number from the register of deeds and put onto your UCC one financial statement, which protects your property and your assets. And you want that claim as a non-UCC filer at the county in which that you and your children domiciled in and was conceived in. At the time, the security interests attached equals birth, execution, registration of the birth, document, certificate, identification to the contract equals newborn footprints. Oh, you remember the footprints? You ain't never seen the long form? The actual long form has already been sold since you was 18 years old. Put up at the New York Stock Exchange and sold into other corporations around the world. China has one of the largest debts for the United States, holds one of the largest debts for the United States. Informer, mother, signature, contract equals birth certificate, things in action equals human fetuses, newborn babies, unborn young of animals equals human fetuses. According to strong concordance in Gohim, below Gohim equals animals. According to the Jewish encyclopedia in Gentiles above, a Gentile is a beast. See, Moors or Hebrews, Israelites. So we don't fall into that goddamn category. That's why you want to be a Moor, because it makes you a Hebrew, an Israelite, a Moabite. Ruth was a Moabitess, a Hebrew, an Israelite. See, field warehouse receipt, identification of goods, Gentiles, Gohim. That's a Gentile, because you think with your genitals. Genital is a beast. We think with our genitals. The little head instead of the big head. Try to get more blood flow up to the big head. It's all right to think a little bit with your little head, but more so with the big head. The big head really is what is going to help try to, help you get out this situation that you gotten yourselves into, that your mother and father has gotten ourselves in, got ourselves into. I'm here to correct the fraud in which that my mom and dad did. Sorry. That's just the type of nigga I am. I'm a Moor. Gohim, Goy, often disparaging, a non-Jewish person, Gentile, genitals, also Goy, Goyim, a foreign nation. Hence we're not a foreign nation. Moors are the nation. United Washington deduct the money of Moor nation. We are the nation, not a foreign nation. Hence, we're not Gentiles. Also, troops of animals. We're not animals. Flight of locusts. We don't fuck with the locusts. Locusts. Genitals or Gentiles. Heathens, nations, people. The New Strong Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, 1995. Literally, Gohim means nation. It is also Jewish slang for cattle. What? For cattle. What? Oh, for chatal. Or animals. Her Jewish thinking that there is only two nations in the world, the Jewish nation and the Gentile non-Jewish nation. Well, Moors are part of the Jewish or Judaism or Chahuti or Tahuti, the followers of Tahuti, because that's where the word Judea comes from. Judah or Judea is Jehuti. How you say in Hebrew, Judea? You say Jehuti. What is the name in ancient Egypt for Thoth? Jehuti. So when you say that you are a Judean or Jew, you're saying that you're a follower of Jehuti. Monster. Here it is, goddammit. A human being by birth, but in some parts resembling a lower animal. That's what I just told you. A monster having no inheritable blood and cannot be heir to any land. Oh, that's how they did that. Remember, you had the Catholic Church to issue an edict or edict in which that stated specifically to conquer all the children of Ham in the new world that you see. And that meant to disassociate you from the land. So they had to give you titles such as Negro, Black, and Colored, but yet you are the indigenous Aboriginal people in the Americas. How we know? Because they show you heads of Negroes from 5,000 years ago that dwelt in the area. They're called the Olmecs, or the She people. Ballotine Law Dictionary, 1930. A prodigious birth, a human being or offspring not having the shape of mankind. Yeah, we don't have the shape of mankind. Which cannot be heir to any land. Therefore, we should be able to claim the land since we don't have the shape of mankind. Albeit it is brought forth in marriage. Well, see, this is the thing. Even those who call themselves sovereign, they are title sovereign, especially if they're Europeans or Albions, because they say that their heritage is Ireland. They are Ireland American. They are German American. They are a Austrian American. They are a Sweden American. They are a South African American. They are a on and on and on. In order to be sovereign, they would have to go back to their land, where their ancestry comes from, to be sovereign. Here, on this land, but there's nothing worse than a slave with an ego. You understand the word slave? Now let's look at free. Not subject to legal constraint of another. The Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People specifically states that Indigenous people have the right to self-autonomy and self-determination. In other words, the United States or any of its entities have the right in order to legally constrain you if you want to dictate your own will. It says also having power to follow dictates of own will, not subject to the dominion of another, not compelled to involuntary servitude. Right now, Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, those who specifically got the jab, since they want to make this against the jabbies and the jabless. I'm glad I don't have a job because I would be jobless too. Jabless and jobless. J and J niggas. J and J. Not compelled to involuntary servitude. Enjoying full civic rights. So that means that you are not under civilis mortuus. You're not dead in the eyes of the law. Enjoying full civil rights means that you are in full life. That's in the Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition too. In full life. Look that shit up. Prominent under the word freedom is self-determination. Either going to be self-determined or determined by others. You want to be determined by others. Or you're going to be self-determined or be determined by others. Others determine your fate, like they're doing now with this jab. Oh, well, look, if you don't get the jab, you ain't gonna be able to travel, you ain't gonna be able to have a job. You fuck that. Work for yourself, self-determination, food, clothing, and shelter. This is what we need to get back to. This is what we need to get back to. We really trying to build over here. I can't say about anywhere else, but I know what we trying to do. We know we have to do this. We got no choice. Absent of restraint and the power of acting, in the character of a moral personality, according to the dictates of the will, without other checks, hindrance, or prohibition than such as may be imposed by just and necessary laws and the duties of social life. In other words, if the shit don't correlate once again with the Constitution, which guarantees your rights, your natural rights, your God-given rights, your universal rights, your natural rights, then you don't have to listen to it. Negro. This is in Black's Law Dictionary. Let's look at it. The word Negro means a black man, one descendant from the African race, and does not commonly include a mulatto. But goddamn, Negro, black, African, and mulatto. Goddamn. All of that shit is in the goddamn first sentence. But the laws of the different states are not uniform in this respect. Some including in the description Negro, one who has 1/8 or more of African blood. Term Negro means necessarily person of color, but not every person of color is Negro. Rice versus Congolese, Mississippi. Black is an English word for the Latin word niga or niga. The etymology of the word Negro or Negroid come from Latin. Black in Spanish is Negro. That's an object. Brown in Spanish is moreno for man and morena for woman. Moors, brown complected, skin, color. Brown, that's the word for Spanish. Black is a denotes, like for example, this computer I have is black. This is Negro. Look on the back, look on the box when they when you buy the TV or the computer or whatever it is, it's going to say in Spanish Negro in lowercase. So black is a description, not an identity, and definitely not a nationality. Example, black person, where black is description and person is identity, but black is not a nationality. Therefore, a black person, black man, black woman, etc., is not a nationality and should not be thought as such. John Henry Clark already told us this. We answer the stupid names such as Negro, black, colored, Black might tell you how you look, but it doesn't tell you who you are. And this is what he said. So Black's Law Dictionary, black person, here it is. Because you had Negroes lying, talking about black is in the Black's Law Dictionary, right? Because you didn't say black person, but black person is nigga. And according in the Constitution and laws, must be taken in its generic sense as contradictory, distinguished from white. Rice versus Gung Loon. Black person. Understand? So in the 101 questionnaire for Moorish Americans, it says 88, what is meant by the word black? Black, according to science, means death. Because black, according to science, the term positive law means civilis mortuus. Civilis mortuus, according to Black's Law Dictionary, means civically dead. Dead in the view of the law. The condition of one who has lost his civil rights, and this is what Martin Luther King was fighting for, was for civil rights. But by the time of his last 3 years of existence, before he passed form, he stated that we're moved from the Constitution, in other words, civil rights, and we moved into human rights. So now we're supposed to be moved into human rights and capacities. And Malcolm X and Hajj Malik El-Shabazz told us this same thing, that this isn't about civil rights. This is about human rights. We first must get recognized as a human being, but not based off of that definition by Ballantine, in which that says human being, see monster definition, is according to dead in the law. Thus, it means one who is considered as if he or she were naturally dead so far as his or her rights are concerned. In the early 1900s, the definition of black did include the word death, darkness, confusion, devoid of light, completely dark, with no light, dismal, destitute of light, gloomy, angry, darkness, threatening. All right? Malignant, soil, stain, murky, mean, wicked. So you want to be black? Black means wicked, niggas. Black means death, immoral, forbidden, indicating disgrace, depression, sadness. Thus, black, according to science, means death. Is found online, free dictionary, thesaurus, written medically, scientifically about the Black Death, the form, the epidemic form of the bubonic plague. All right, experienced during the Middle Ages, 14th century, when it killed nearly half of the people of Western Europe, about 25 million. Black Death refers to color one's skin turned while dying from the bubonic plague. So, see the science. Look, the word black, come down. One, evil. Black, wicked. This is Webster Dictionary. What's the Merriam Dictionary? Oh, so it's evil and wicked. And then look what it comes down to. Oh, pertaining or belonging to any of the various population characterized by dark skin pigmentation, specifically the dark skinned people of Africa, Oceania, and Australia. B, African Americans, niggas. African Americans. Soiled or stained with dirt. That shirt was black within an hour. Gloomy, pessimistic, dismal. A black outlook. But really, what is black? Oh, okay. Let's look at etymology. Black is pale, wan, livid, blackened, to become pale, to turn white, to become black, to blacken, black. So who's really evil and wicked? Pale, wan, livid, the sun, or to bleach, also to lighten it, to flash, bleak, pale, bleaken, to bleach, pale, wan, bleak, blicken, to bleach, Dan, black, ink, pale, wan, bleak, sallow, shallow, liquor, to bleach. It is remarkable that black, bleak, and bleach are all radically one word. The primary sense seems to be pale. So who's really evil, wicked, and deserve the title or name black? It's not you. so-called Negro, blacks, and coloreds. It's not you. Color, in appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, or distinguished from that which is real. So see, when you say that you Negro, black, and colored, when you say that you're part of the NAACP, the National Advancement Association of Colored People, since you're a colored person, you are in appearance, semblance, or simulacrum, distinguished from that which is real. You're not real, Negro. And the melanin inside of you is not real, prima facie, or apparent right. Hence, a deceptive appearance. You have a deceptive appearance. This is what happens when they racially profile you. You have a deceptive appearance. A plausible. Oh, I have to stop you because I had to pause you, have to stop you because you have a deceptive appearance. You look like what they say, you look like a call that was called in. You look like the person in which that they described when the call came in. Racial profiling. Assume exterior, concealing the lack of reality. A distinguished or pretext, disguise or pretext. Your melanin is a disguise, nigga. You don't believe me? Come on down. Look at color. The last paragraph. The word also means the dark color of the skin, showing the presence of Negro blood. And hence it's equivalent to African descent or parentage. Johnson versus Board of Education of Wilson County, North Carolina. Colored. By common usage in America, this term is such phrases as colored persons, the colored race, the colored men, and the like is used to designate Negroes and people of African race, including all persons of mixed blood descent from Negro ancestry. Come on down. It has also been held that there is no legal, technical signification to the phrase colored person, which the courts are bound judicially to know. So when you go to court as Negro, black, and colored, the judge look at you as property off the bat, goods off the bat, goheen off the bat, slave off the bat. Because he don't know colored person. Or you damn Negroes that's part of the National Association of Colored People. See, that's because it's the miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson to begin with, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Second degree, PhD graduate from Harvard University behind, well, y'all know who the individual is, the first graduate of Harvard. All right. Y'all know him as W.B. Du Bois. But what does he say? The word Negro or black is used in reference to particular elements because most people of native African descent approach this color. The term does not imply that every Negro is black. And the word white does not mean that every white man is actually white. Negroes may be colored, but many Caucasians are scientifically classified as colored. We are not all African. What? Hold on, wait, what? He said we are not all Africans. Wow. We are not all Africans. Moreover, because many of us were not born in Africa. In fact, the majority of us was not born in Africa. All right? Shit, about probably 98% of us was not born in Africa. And we are not all Afro-Americans because few of us are natives of Africa transplanted to America. Well, goddamn, hold on. How can that be? I thought the slave trade brought us all from Africa to the United States, transplanted us from Africa to the United States. So how is Carter G. Woodson, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, that is, PhD, writer of the Miseducation of the Negro, Education of the Negro, etc., state that we are not all Afro-Americans? Hold up, Jesse Jackass gave us the name African American because he said because few of us are natives of Africa transplanted to America. Few of us natives of Africa transplanted to America. So what is it that he knew that we don't know now? And this shit was in the 1920s, 30s. Now, Carter G. Woodson, for those who don't know, wrote for the Negro World, which was Marcus Garvey's newspaper. Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. A free Negro of the African race whose ancestry was brought to this country and sold as slaves. The majority of us was not brought to this country, as Carter G. Woodson just said. Few of us are transplanted from, transferred or transplanted from Africa to America. And is not a citizen within the meaning of the Constitution of the United States. No, within the definition of the European Albion. Because according to the Constitution, in particular, the Declaration of Independence, it states that all men are equal or created equal. So there is no slave. 1776. When the Constitution was adopted, it was not regarded in any of the states, and that's not true. Justice Curtis said that we was citizens in at least 5 states. That's the republic, y'all, not the democracy bullshit that they got now, the de facto, but the de jure government, not the de facto government that we are up under since 1871, later on with the Trading of the Enemy Act. 1871, we still up under martial law to this day. They were not regarded in any state as members of the community, which constitute the states, which we said that is wrong. We was in at least 5 states according to Justice Curtis, and were not numbered among his people as citizens. Consequently, the special rights and immunities guaranteed to citizens do not apply to them. Well, especially those who don't have a nationality. Now I'm going to show you this is exactly what this Dred Scott case was based on, was nationality. They have for more than a century before being regarded as beings of inferior order, and although altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they have no rights which the white man were bound to respect. Now, this is in Dred Scott versus Sanford. But according to the Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition, citizen, look at citizen. All natives are not citizens of the United States. The descendants of the Aborigines. Now, who that? That's you, the indigenous Aboriginal people. And those of African origin, which they all mixed in and made all of us, those who are descendants of the Aborigines, made us all African origin, and say that are not entitled to the rights of citizens. That Constitution does not authorize any but white persons to become citizens of the United States. So when you put on your SF 181 form and your SS5 form, both of those from the Social Security Department, that your status is white and American Indian, you're saying that American Indian or American, that you are indigenous, that you are Aborigines. And then when you say that you're white, you're saying that you are status of free white person, even though you wasn't technically naturalized. You didn't go to the harbor, to Statue of Liberty, and get taught to speak English and have to take a test, become a citizen, naturalized, because you was already here. It must therefore be presumed that no one is a citizen who is not white. Therefore, there is a marked difference between citizenship and heritage. Well, you have the heritage, there's no doubt about that. But as long as your name is on all of those artificial entities, your birth certificate, social security card, passport, driver's license, marriage license, etc., all cap name equals newborn. Artificial persons existed in contemplation of or by law, force of law alone. That's the last sentence here. Look at that. All legal pleadings, court records, and license use only names appearing in all caps letters. Now, this is legal fiction, proper, fictitious name, artificial person, idem senan, informer. Your mom is listed on the birth certificate as informer. She squealed on your ass. Oh, here he is. He worth his weight in gold. $650,000 starting out according to the Internal Revenue Code, IRC. By the time you get to 18, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And your shit goes, this is why they want you to fill out as a man, fill out selective services. As a woman and man, voting rights at the age of 18. Because this is when your birth certificate goes on the open stock market. This is when your shit is made public for purchase. Strawmy is homo, a man of straw. Uh-oh, remember, I told you this, Dorothy's, that the first person that she met on the yellow brick road was who? Who was it? Straw man, the scarecrow, a man of straw, one of no substance because he didn't have a brain. He was a dummy. Put forth as bail or surety. No, there's no coincidence that the ward of the state is also the straw boss. And the inmates are wards of the state, and they are straw persons, whether male or female. So now you look up Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, straw man, a friend or third party who is put up in name only. What name is put up only? Oh, the name which is in all caps to take part in the transaction. Your name in all caps is the front that you have no lien on. So you can easily be sued, levied, and liened by corporations because your name in all caps is nothing more than a corporation. You're civilis mortuus. You dead in the eyes of the law. And when you are actually dead, your name is in all caps on the goddamn tombstone, nigga. Nominal party to a transaction, one who acts as an agent for another for the purpose to take title to real property and execute whatever documents and instruments the principals may direct. Person who purchases property for another to conceal identity of real purchaser or to accomplish some purpose otherwise not allowed. So, as a natural person, none of this shit is fucking allowed. None of this is allowed. None of it. But as an artificial person, accomplish some purpose otherwise not allowed. Now it becomes allowable. Now they can do it. But see, you're artificial persons. Look at it. Persons created and devised by human law. Humans, not God's law. So when you come to me talking about human laws, I'm gonna say, yo, get the fuck out my face with that. Now you come to me with God's laws, then we can talk. But statute, codes, rules, regulations, policies, ordinances, that shit ain't God's law. That's human laws for the purpose of society and government, as distinguished from natural persons. When you come to me, talk to me, don't come as an artificial person, a linear left hemisphere brain thinker. You better come to me as a right hemisphere thinker, natural person. Corporations are examples of artificial persons. Your name in all caps is an example of artificial persons. Think about it. So we understand who the straw man is, the man of straw. The straw man is homo, the dummy, the scarecrow who's looking for a brain, nothing of substance. Who's the second motherfucker Dorothy met on the yellow brick road? She met the Tin Man, TIN, taxpayer identification number, niggas. TIN. The number on the social security card. The names, that shit is in all caps. Your name is in all caps on it. And you don't have a superior claim of lien, a actual lien on these instruments. As we already told you, only way you can do it is at the Register of Deeds or County Recorder's Office where you domiciled or where you was conceived, the county in which that you was conceived in. Civilis mortuus, civically dead, dead in the view of the law, the condition of one who has lost his civil rights and capacities and is accounted dead in law. Dummy, one who holds legal title for another, a straw man. See, your name in all caps, hold legal title. It's called your UCC trust account, where you can set off and discharge debt. But because since the House Joint Resolution 192, but because you wasn't told about this in Public Law 73-10, since you wasn't told about this, you simply a dummy and just walk around being dummified, not mummified, dummified. Everywhere you go, you dummified. Look at dummy, adjective, shame or shem, make believe, pretend, imitation, as respect based for predicating liability on public corporation for acting as subsidiary, agency, adjunct, branch, instrumentality, dummy, buffer, tool, all means very much the same thing. I remember hearing white boys growing up come out, you a tool, Billy. You a tool, dummy, all of that shit right there. Dummified. Matter of fact, I should name this shit here dummified, dummification. Right? Public, the whole body politic, or the aggregate of the citizen of a state, district, or municipality, the inhabitants of a state, country, or community. All right? Private, affecting or belonging to private individuals as distinct from the public generally, not official, not clothed with office. In other words, nobody who is office or officer has a way in order to deal with you. People versus power. As to private act, agent, bill, boundary, bridge, business, carrier, chapel, corporation, detective, dwelling home, easement, examination, ferry, nuisance, pond, property, prosecutor, rights, road, cell, school, seal, statue, stream, trust, water, war, way, wrath, and wrong. See those titles. Look all that up in the Blackstone Dictionary. But see, the government derived from the Latin word governo, or governere, means to control. And the Latin noun mens, mentis, means mind. So government means to control the mind. So the word government itself means mind control. This is actually what they're doing as a de facto corporation. You see, there's no such thing as a United States government, as I told you before. In reality, there are no governments. There are corporations, fictions, such as the Federal Reserve Incorporation and the United States Incorporation, which is in fact a private corporation. The United States Incorporation is just a slave management company from the Virginia Company. That's how the 13 colonies branched into the various areas as part of import and export at the docks. Guess what that makes you, though? If the United States Inc. is just a slave management company, guess what that makes you? That makes you a slave, as I talked about earlier. If you said property, you write on that too. You are human capital. To verify the facts in the proceedings, read Title 5, United States Code 903, Title 12, United States Code 95, Title 18, U.S. Code 914, Title 22, U.S. Code 263, 285, 286, 287, 288, Public Law 89-719, Public Law 94-564, Public Law 101 167, Public Law 91 151, Public Law 103 465, House Report 103 826. Y'all getting all this? I hope so. TDO 150 10, TDO 92 41 statute, chapter 214, page 654, Emergency Banking Act 48, section 1 or 1, articles of agreement, 60 statute 1440, 20 CFR chapter 111, subpart B 422.103 B22, United Nations Secretariat revised system of national accounting divestment, metal product versus IRS et al. CV-93-405E-EJE, United States DCD1, Kremlin versus United States 177, Tumelski versus United States 493, Foster versus Balk 425, Keller versus PE 261, United States 428, United States versus Leopold Patolero 571, Respublica versus Swear, Interpol Constitution Article 30, Executive Order 10422, Papal Bull 1455 and 193, the Papal Bull or the edicts that I was talking about, in which that the Pope stated to conquer all Ham's children in the New World. This is where slavery came from, all right? As we would call it, POW, prisoners of war. PACSA 502, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. So this is what you need to see. If you don't believe that you're human capital, get that. Get it. Get the book, The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. You don't know nothing about that book, I suggest you get it. She was a civil rights lawyer. Hell, after writing the book, she needed to be a human rights lawyer. All right. She deals with the book primarily with the issues of the current mass levels of incarceration. The United States is 5% of the world's population, but it has 25% of the world prisoners, with so-called blacks making up 51 to 65% of the United States prison population. In less than 3 decades, the United States population exploded from 300,000 to more than 2 million. Majority of the convictions increased from drug violations, resulting in the world's highest incarceration rate, exceeding the rate of a number of regimes strongly criticized by the United States is highly repressive. According to Alexander, the majority of young black men in large American cities are warehoused in prisons. Their labor is now used as globalized economics or economy, or after having criminal records or labeled as felons, or permanently trapped in a second-class status. They just started allowing for them to vote. Many had problems with getting jobs. Of course, that's if they don't change their status. This is why also we recommend status correction, known as your nationality. Also, 7.6 million are under the prison correctional control, whether that's probation or parole. All right. Prisoner, one who's deprived of his liberties. Sound like the same thing to slave to me. One who is against his will, kept in confinement or custody. A person can restrain of his liberties under any action, civil or criminal, or under commandment. All right. A person on trial for crime, the prisoner at the bar, the juries are told to look upon the prisoner. The court, after passing sentence, give order to remove the prisoner. All right. Because now he's a slave. So prisoner and slave, same thing. Go and get hidden colors too. triumph of melanin, right? We know that Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, states a statue is a bond, and that's your birth certificate. The birth certificate is your straw man, your name in all caps. That's the straw man. That's the one who's looking for a brain. Statute is a bond or obligation of record. That what all the criminal statutes are. Bonds, obligations of record. Statutes are bonds. Courtroom charges are civil, not criminal. Everything involves bonds. When you are arrested, there are two different sets of bonds. If it's at the state level or if it's at the federal level. A bid bond is filled out when you are arrested. That's what you sign. United States District Court used the forms SF 273, 274, 275. That's the bid bond, performance bond, and the payment bond at the federal level. There's also another set of bonds. Both sets are put out by the GSA. SF Form 24 is the bid bond. The performance bond is SF Bond 25. All right? The performance bond. The payment bond is SF 25A. These are all put out by the GSA under the comptroller of the currency under the GAO, which is the General Accounting Office. All right, this is where your CPAs come in at. All these bonds have a penal sum attached to it. What's penal? Penal system. Sound very similar to the pineal gland. This is why they arrest your ass and put you in 4-cell ward, confined with white walls. Symbolic to calcification. Your soul, your body, the melanin is now calcified behind the walls. A prisoner, slave, someone who's getting paid 29 to 69 cents an hour. If you go into default judgment, you end up in prison wondering what is going on because you consented. As soon as the judge asks you, do you understand the charges being brought up against you, and you shake your head like this, you fucked. If you argue jurisdiction, you don't argue jurisdiction if you don't have documentation on the public record. They'll send your ass for a psychic evaluation, especially if you say that you're more and you don't have that shit on the public record. Stop listening to these jackasses, these jackass Moors out here talking about you don't need no paperwork. You need paperwork. I'll show you in a few minutes. Or refuse to answer questions to the court addressed to you, you'll be in contempt of court and in jail. The 273, 274, 275 bond forms are as follows. 273 is the reinsurance agreement of with the United States. 274 is the Miller Act reinsurance performance bond, and 275 is the payment bond. This is what I already told you already. The Miller Act reinsurance payment bond. United States District Court buys all the state court judgments. This is how they say that the charges was dropped against you at the state level, but was picked up at the federal level. Because of what I just told you, the United States court, federal court, buys all the state court judgments. Oh boy. There are 8 people on the board of directors of the CCA, Correction Corporation of America. Look it up. Joseph E. Russell, the top holder, and John M. Ferguson. Russell owns about 64,000 shares of CCA stock, which is worth about 70 million. Ferguson owns 34,000 shares, valued at about 37 million. Payne Weber, with 10,000 corporations in it, is the major stockholder of CCA. All right, Correction Corporation of America in Nashville, Tennessee. Payne Weber Group is the United States of America. So when the prosecutor pretending to be the DA, assistant DA, pretending to be the people, pretending to be the state, he's really is Payne Weber Group. That's who he represents. The Payne Weber Group is the United States of America, and all the big international corporations are the stockholders and own all the stock in CCA. Everyone is using our exemptions on the private side, but you're not, because you'd rather be Negro, Black, and colored. They file a 1096 tax return, and the bank does a 1099A abandonment form. It shows it as a prepaid account, as prepaid interest, and they return it back to the prisoner. They took the prisoner deduction for the exemption, and they deduct the tax, and the IRS billed the prisoner for the tax. So the corporations are stealing your exemption, which is your intellectual property. So this is why you do your nationality and then do your UCC and activate your UCC trust account at the Secretary of Treasury through the Postal Service, which is the Treasury. And you send the information to the Secretary of Treasury in Washington, D.C., and you send it to the Treasurer in San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is what's really going on. This is the reason why they have privatized the system. Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, HUD are all international. Fidelity Management and Research is the top stockholder. So you go to fidelity.com or fidelity.org, whatever it is. The top investment firm that is selling the bonds as investment sureties or securities. They pool them and sell them as mortgage-backed securities. Bunch bundle bonds, as they call it. They took these to the TBA, which is the Bond Market Association. All right. The shares represents the stock, which represents the account of CCA. All of this has been funneled through the CCA, the Correction Corporation of America, which they are doing is selling stock in the prison system by selling the prisoners' accounts as securities through the security exchange. So you capture all of this information onto the UCC and the various other forms, send it to the treasurer. 30 days later, you can now set off or discharge debt, meaning now you have the ability in order to discharge the charges that was brought up against you in court. Because see, if you can charge someone, then that means there must be a process to discharge. Think about it. Think about it. Special ed, because you don't know nothing about that. You get it? If you read John Hall's book and it talks about the letter rogatory indictments when you are indicated and brought into the court under a warrant. What the warrant is a demand for payment of debt. What they did under amorality in the courtroom is that they demanded payment. You sign a bond to be released until the civil complaint is prosecuted, and then they release you under the bond until until the civil bond is prosecuted. Excuse me. If you don't pay the debt, they put you in prison until the debt is paid. The law hasn't changed. The circumstances of the government has changed, so amorality can be applied instead of constitutional law. Warden comes from amorality, warden of the sea. The warden is the warehouse man who is warehousing all the goods. He's the bailee. All right. The commitment order is the bailment. You contract for the commitment of the goods. Then they put the goods in the warehouse and store them there. Prisoners stored in prison, just like the people stored in the pods in the movie Matrix. I'm just trying to show you the similarities. American Legislative Exchange Committee is behind all this. Paul Warwick owns this think tank. ELEC promotes privatization of the prison system. They go to the National Congress of Commissioners, which are 72 judges and lawyers who grew up under the UCC under Lex Merchantoria. So when you hear Negroes talking about don't use the UCC and these damn 72 judges of the National Congress of Commissioners grew up under the UCC, under LAC or Lex Merchants. All major corporations are feeding off the prison system, whether it's Target, Walmart, hell, even back in the days, um, Kmart was doing it. Now I don't know how the hell they went out of business. Shit, they was investing in, but hell, Michael Jordan invested money, $200 in it and got $600 million back. Something like that. So prison bonds is a big thing. Look up on the New York Stock Exchange. You'll see all major corporations are feeding off the prison system, including RIT, which is Real Estate Investment Trust. So when we're talking about Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, HUD, and they blamed us in 2008. If you remember when Barack Obama was coming into office, they was trying to blame him, but yet Bush was in there for 8 years prior to him. Right? Bush Jr., that is. And what happened? They blame black people, Negro, blacks, and coloreds, for the collapse of the economy and for the housing situation. Because allegedly we wasn't paying these particular Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and HUD their money. Fiat notes. And so they claim that we caused the collapse. PZN Prison Trust. All real estate companies are holding bonds and bonds are not redeemed. The Lehman Brothers are the underwriters who also, the Lehman Brothers are the same ones at the Federal Reserve. They sit on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank. And they are the underwriters for the prison system. Who could have guessed? They buy up the bid bonds, the court judgments. They hypothecate the bonds on what? What is everything hypothecated upon? It's the birth certificate, niggas. Your birth certificate in all caps is what they hypothecate everything upon. The straw man, the name in all caps. The first motherfucker Dorothy met on the yellow brick road to the Federal Reserve Bank. Oh, I'm sorry, the Emerald City. They hypothecate the bonds. Banks make derivatives out of your promissory notes. So when you put your signature there, promissory note, and sell them, mortgage, credit cards, etc. These private banks bonds or these prison bonds are being monetized. They make an investment security out of it. They make a fortune off the prisoners. That's why they only pay them 29 cents an hour. These bonds go international into SINDS and then into ANNA, which is the Annual Numbering Association in Brussels, Belgium, with unlimited capital. This is where euro, yen, sterling, everything is under the prison system. All countries are feeding off it. And this is why they are not real nations, because they are de facto. So all these countries have a hand in the debt, the demolishment, the degradation, the dehumanization of so-called black people. This is why the Masonic Shriners speaks of the fact that you are the biggest secret, because everybody is living off of you, Moors, because you don't know that you're a Moor. You don't know that you're a natural person. You are so happy being Negro, black, and colored. And they got so happy with the game of of dehumanizing the Moors that they said, shit, let's dehumanize the rest of them, the so-called citizens. Because remember, we showed you the citizens are property. They're slaves. They're human capital or mankind capital. So the United States 13th Amendment says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crimes, whereof the party shall be duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So this means right here, slavery, involuntary servitude, that's prison. Remember, we just showed you that. So this is why prisoner and slave have the same definition. No, Lincoln was a Republican. And remember, after Lincoln, Negroes were Republicans until after Kennedy. And amazingly, 80% of the prisons are in Republican areas. That's another little GED note. All right. As Hughley would say. Well, this ain't no GED note right here. This is North Carolina law. There, every man is independent of all law except those prescribed by nature. So if you're a natural being, natural law, then there is no law except that you have to abide by except natural law. In other words, basically the 10 Commandments. He is not bound by any institution formed by his fellow man without his consent. Cruden versus Neal. Or Neely. If any tribunal court finds absent of proof of jurisdiction over a person or subject matter, the case must be dismissed. Louisville versus Motley. Or Motley. You get it? Or versus Cullen. For a crime to exist, there must be an injured party. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed on one because of this exercise of constitutional right. Corpus delicti, Latin word which means body of crime, is a term from Western jurisprudence which refers to the principle that it must be proven that a crime has occurred before a person can be convicted of committing the crime. For example, a person cannot be tried for larceny unless it can be proven the property has been stolen or there is some type of damaged property. Likewise, in order for a person to be tried for larceny, it must be proven that a criminal act resulted in the burning of a property. Black's Law Dictionary defines corpus delicti as the fact of a crime having been actually committed. In other words, you are innocent before proven guilty. This is the way it's supposed to be, based on Sherrill versus Collins. However, they have changed it around. You are guilty before being proven innocent. So when they ask you, are you guilty or not guilty, you should say, I'm innocent. And they have to prove that you're not innocent. Where there is no violation of the established right, there can be no wrong. Understand what's going on here, y'all. You cannot have a trial without an injured party. So if there's no injured party, there's no damaged property, there's no sworn affidavit, you're in a kangaroo court. You cannot, as a matter of due process of law, cannot be called or summoned into a court or tribunal without having an injured party. The injured party is the accuser, and he or she must squarely and surely identify you as the accused. The accused, you have either committed an injury to a body, corpus delicti, or injured property, or have breached a contract. If so, then the accuser injured party must be present and the contract must be also placed as evidence for review. So if there's no sworn affidavit, then anything in which that the DA would say, it would be hearsay. And according to the rules of evidence, hearsay is inadmissible. It's not allowed in court. The accuser, injured party, must be the judicial machinery into action by first writing a sworn affidavit that states the injuries that was committed. Then the summons comes and it must be signed by Article 3 judge, which states that the matter has been duly investigated and probable cause for such summons and or warrant is justified. That's how it's supposed to work. The sworn affidavit must have Amendment 4. These are all matters of due process of law, and if one of these elements are missing and corrupted in any way, the entire matter must be dismissed. But they got you acting the other way around. Even so, the courts cannot adjudicate the Uniform Commercial Code. This is also a reason why you do the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, because the judge can't adjudicate when it comes to that. Title 15, United States 1127, the definition included commercial name, trade name, juristic name, etc. Your straw man is a legal person subject to legislative statutes. The straw man is a trust trade name, a do business as in the commercial world. So up in lowercase, birth name, Cesar Sanchez, up in lowercase. But when it comes to the legal person, the name is in all caps, Cesar Sanchez, in all caps. The straw man is the trust trade name, doing business as in the commercial world. It comes into existence with your birth certificate, which was a bond, which was bonded and gave the value at $650,000. It's estimated on the basis of the weight of the child, approximately 5 pounds, because you're worth your weight in gold. Credit according to the IRC or Internal Revenue Code. Or put it this way, when the old saying is that you're worth your weight in gold, isn't just a old saying, it stands true. It's just not an old saying, it stands true. Let me explain. Let's say that you're worth, that you weigh 10 pounds at birth. Gold currently is about $1,000. Of course, we know it's more than that, but let's just say $1,000 an ounce. And Oz is ounce, O-Z, excuse me. The yellow brick road. There are 16 ounces in a pound, hence 1,000 times 1,600 equals 16,000. 16,000 times 10 equals 160,000. And then the bank do what is called fractionalized banking. The bank, DTC, Depository Trust Company, which is at 55 Water Street, New York City, New York, 10041. Yeah, I got all this memorized. Receive the bond, birth certificate in red is the bond number, and our certificate or state file number, and marks it up 10 times the value, fractionalized banking as it's called, and the amount becomes $1.6 million. Their estimate is based on the weight of the person, approximately 10 pounds. So did you know, when you were born, your parents registered you with the government as a corporation by receiving and signing a birth certificate? In a few years, your corporation will receive a taxpayer ID or tax identification number called a social security number. This is so you can be used as collateral for the government to acquire debt. That's right. You and your labor time, energy is what backs up the national debt. You are stock. Right? So the value of the birth certificate is unlimited. All right, even though we do $100 trillion on our documents. Howbeit, it is good to put a value on it, such as 100 billion silver dollars. You can also make it more if you want. How much are you worth? When the mother informant gave the title birth certificate to the state, the baby then became the property and the slave of the state, award to the state. These titles, birth certificates, are turned into corporations at Puerto Rico Department of State Corporations. This is why P.O. Box 3271, San Juan, Puerto Rico 00904-3271. Puerto Rico is the territory of the District of Columbia. The original birth or naturalization record for every United States citizen is on file in the official records in Washington, D.C. You get to keep a copy from the state, and the property and assets of every living United States citizen is pledged. Now remember, you're really not a United States citizen, so these are privileges that they have given you in order that you can have a pledge as collateral for the national debt. Within 2 weeks and 3 days, each certificate of live birth is to be filed in Washington, D.C. Evidence revealed that there is evidence of a federal children department established by the Shepard-Townsend Act of 1922. This is how they can take your children, come in and just take your children. DSS, or whatever you want to refer to it as, can come in and confiscate your children. Under the Department of Commerce, every citizen is given a number, the red number on the birth certificate. That's the bond number. Look at here. So when you see this red number on the birth certificate, it says right here, American Bank Note Company, Midwest Bank Note Company, East Note Bank Company. These are the various names, but this is a bank note. This is a bond. That is the bond number. So when you hear dumbass Moors talking about the birth certificate isn't a bond, ask them about this. See, y'all have to stop listening to dumbass niggas, man. For real. God damn. These are the people who's selling you back into slavery, man. And that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali was talking about. These slave ass niggas is damn serving you back up. Serving you up cold. Get ready to get fucked with no Vaseline. Because they're not teaching you properly. And each live birth is valued from $650,000 Federal Reserve notes in collateral from the Fed, from the Federal Reserve Bank. This is why you have the Federal Reserve letter on each dollar bill, on each note. E is Richmond, Virginia. It correlates to the E, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Whatever letter is one of the 12 that's on the back of your Social Security card. E just happens to be Richmond, Virginia. The Federal Reserve of Richmond, Virginia. So the Social Security account is the strawman account and is listed in your strawman trade name, not your true name. This is Helleverin versus Davis. The United States Supreme Court ruled that the Social Security is neither an insurance nor a retirement program, but a welfare program. Because of this fact, application for, well, you know, y'all niggas love them stimulus. They love them stimulus. That's the welfare program. That's your Social Security. Hell, they was damn getting your shit from the private side anyway, giving you the damn money. It was yours to begin with. Because of this, application for and use of a Social Security account number, SSAN, for one thing, is a tacit confession that one is so impotent in managing his or her own affairs that he or she must appoint the United States government as his, her, guardian. Because you're a ward of the state. You're a minor. You are a minor. Look up minor in the Blackstone Dictionary. It says infantile. Basically, you can't think for yourself. Remember, you need a brain, straw man. So you can't think for yourself, so they have to think for you. Such defective status is also known by other names such as child of the state, ward of the court, and is legally known as the doctrine of parent patria, wherein the state is considered the legal parent guardian of those under disability and under the care and unable to care for themselves. You wards of the state, you Negroes love to be wards of the state. You don't want to be free. You want to stay slaves. I see it all the time. Niggas are happy with their job. They happy with the jab. They happy depending on someone else for their sustenance, for their food, clothing, and shelter. They just so fucking happy, man. I'm not. When you pay the first penny of the Social Security, a straw man Social Security payroll taxes, you execute the contract and confirm that the straw man and you by default as surety. This is why you have to do a SF-28 form, affidavit of individual surety, to take control of the surety. Was a child of the state incapable of managing his own affairs and needful of guardianship. This is why if you go to court, the judge acts as trustee. He's the guardian, the administrator. Because you have the birth certificate, and that's what everything is predicated upon. Remember, a statute is a bond. The bond is your social security is your own birth certificate. The social security card is your straw man account as well. This is a promissory note. It is a promise to pay at some point in the future. In other words, that I owe you. Fiat. When you use one of these to purchase goods, all you are doing is exchanging the debt with more debt. So this is why you do the UCC and you send it to the treasurer in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and you send it to the Secretary of Treasury in Washington, D.C. to activate your UCC trust account so that you can offset and discharge the debts so that you are no longer being a debtor, but a secure party creditor. See, I make this shit easy for you to understand because I've done it. I'm not a more out here just damn flapping my fucking gums and chattering my teeth. I've actually done this shit. And we can help you do it too. You definitely got to get your shit together. Negroes, blacks, and colors specifically. When you use one of these purchase goods and all you're doing is exchanging the debt with more debt, the banks then issue the promissory note, charge interest for doing so, which you pay, which now shit, that basically is inflation shit. When you pay for what you pay for with your income tax. Essentially, your labor is used as collateral for the debt of the government, owes the banks for lending them the notes. And by pumping this fake money into the economy, monopoly money, as we call it, it creates inflation. You got to use it though. So I ain't going to get, I'm not going to go to the extreme. It creates inflation, which devalues your spending power. Pissed off yet? This is money. That's in gold coins or a certificate of gold. All right. This is debt. You see right there. It says for debt. All right. You see here, silver certificate, 1928. Paid to the bearer $1 silver dollar. Silver dollar was equal to 0.77 ounces silver. Silver, $1 silver dollar. Now just say $1. Federal Reserve note, as you see now. Federal Reserve note and paid to the bearer, nothing. Birth certificate is a negotiable instrument. So this is why when you're trying to discharge debt, you will make sure that you have several copies of your loan form from the state to discharge the debt. And you will set for value the birth certificate and you put private conditional agreement onto your documentation and onto the envelope. Birth certificate is a negotiable instrument. Remember, when you put your UCC and you open and activate your UCC trust account with the treasurer and the Secretary of Treasury, Washington, D.C., San Juan, Puerto Rico, you're doing it for $100 trillion. You're going to put in a civil bond certificate, which is at least 22 pieces of silver, right? 21 according, 20 to 21 according to the Constitution itself. I believe is Article 7. And then it speaks Article 1, Section 10. Speaks of who has the right for real coinage or real money. And that's Congress to make it. Birth certificate is a negotiable instrument, a registered security, a stock certificate evidencing or representing the preferred stock of the corporation and against which you are the surety. Is a pedigree chattel document establishing the existence of our straw man, name in all caps, a distinct artificial person with a fictitious name, name in all caps, is a document of title to a straw man, name in all caps. It is a warehouse receipt for your body, name in all caps, delivery receipt, name in all caps, industrial bond between you, flesh and blood, man and woman, and the industrial society and corporate United States, artificial person, name in all caps, birth, the act of being born or wholly brought into separate existence. A man or a woman is born straw man or wholly brought into separate existence. Each event qualifies as a birth. The birth certificate document monitor mixture of two events that allow the system to both claim that it is your birth certificate, yet also claim to hold title, not ownership of, to the corporately colored straw man. See, that's why they love for you to be a colored man, because it's actually colored straw man. So this is why they have you saying that you was colored. Color of law, color of authority. All right, you get it? So you have to do an affidavit of beneficial ownership of the birth certificate. Authenticate the birth certificate at the state and federal level. Do an executor letter for you can claim the office or the seat once again, which you abandoned, and why did the bank do a 1099-A on your ass? Birth certificates are a form of security called warehouse receipts. The term includes on warehouse receipts or decry at 7-207 of the Uniform Commercial Code. This is why you have to do the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, because that's where they claim that you are registered at. Birth certificates, form of security, warehouse receipt. That's 7.A7-202, Uniform Commercial Code. The law which governs commercial paper and transaction, which parallel to birth certificates, all birth certificates now appear at least qualified as warehouse receipts under the Uniform Commercial Code. Black's Law Dictionary, 7th edition, defines warehouse receipt. A warehouse receipt, which is considered a document of title, may be a negotiable instrument and is often used for financing with inventory as security. This cycle is based on the future tax revenue at the legal person whose name appears on the birth certificate. This also means that the bankruptcy or bankrupt United States, corporate United States, can guarantee to the purchaser of their securities that lifetime labor and tax revenue of every citizen of the United States, American, with a birth certificate as collateral for payment. This device is initiated simply by converting the lawful name, true name of a child, which is up in lowercase, into a legal juristic name of a person, which is named in all caps. Legally, you are considered to be a slave or indentured servant of the various federal boards of the state and local governments via your state issue and state issue birth certificate in the name of your all cap persons. Birth certificates are issued so that the issuer can claim exclusive title to the legal person created thereby. Remember, you are artificial persons are devised by human laws. Natural persons are devised by God's law. Which one are you? Which one are you? So the original Social Security card was designed by Fred Happel of Albany, New York in 1936. The creation of the Social Security account is known as the SETI-Q Trust, along with the birth certificate, which refers to the beneficiary having an equitable interest in the trust with the legal title being vested to the trustee. Green versus Underhill, excuse me. The IRS is an accounting and collection agency of the International Monetary Fund. Matter of fact, that's the number that's on the back of your Social Security card there. As you see, E112344748. The E is Richmond, Virginia. As I told you, there's 12 of them, 12 letters. On yours, it might be A in the numerals, might be B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L of the numerals, but it's 12 of them. And the 13th one reside in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, oh, which is the treasurer for the Federal Reserve Board, which is the Federal Reserve Bank, which is situated in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And this is why you send your private bond set off and negotiable charge back and negotiable bill of exchange and your civil bond and so forth and so on. Once you have it registered at the county recorder's office, the register of deeds office, you send it to Puerto Rico and you send it to Washington, D.C. The same two individuals, when you look on the dollar bill, you see right here, see the treasurer and you see the secretary of treasury. On both sides of the dollar bill, there, right below the letters, it tells you specifically who's here now. For example, Janet Yellen is in Washington, D.C. So let's look at it. So it's the International Monetary Fund. Matter of fact, the number on the back of the Social Security card is also known as your prepaid levy bond number. Your prepaid levy bond number is also referred to as your International Monetary Fund number. The bankers who the company owes money to. They are the ones who enforce and oversees the bankruptcy of the company. They're really not your enemies. They are only doing what they are hired to do, and that is to keep track of the bankruptcy of the company. It is imperative we learn how to use them to our advantage, as they can be a tremendous resource for us because they can enforce the bonds. All right. The IRS particularly can enforce the bonds. Your exemption is the bridge between the private side and the public side. The front of the Social Security is the public side. The back of the Social Security is the private side. International Monetary Fund took the application and pledged our future labor as a guarantee for payment to the bankers. The bankers gave the company a credit for the application against the amount that the company owns the bank, which is at the time of your birth was worth $650,000. Social Security card. This transaction is what is referred to as money of account. Transaction of no real money change hands. It was simply an account entry against the debt owed to the bankers by the companies. This is why they're trying to go to a cashless society, digital currency. Under the doctrine of parent patria, government as parent, as a result of the manipulated bankruptcy of the United States government in 1930. All the assets of the American people, their person, and all our countries itself are held by the Depository Trust Company at the 55 Water Street, New York City, New York, secured by UCC commercial liens. And so if you don't have a superior claim of lien, then they have the right in order to continue doing what they're doing, which are then monetized as debt money by the Federal Reserve Bank. It may interest you to know that under the umbrella of the Depository Trust Company lies the CEDE Corporation, the Federal Reserve Corporation, the American Bar Association. This is why they are so active in order to get your ass in court and have you to admit to charges being brought up against you, just like you charge your credit card. You can also discharge your credit card. You understand that, right? Just like you can discharge your credit card, you can discharge a court proceedings. The legal arm of the banking interest and the Internal Revenue Service, the Systems Collection Agency. So the Federal Reserve Banks in the state of America is shown below. So this is where we get into the science. First district, A. So if you got A on the back of your Social Security number, then that's the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. 2, B, Federal Reserve Bank of New York. C, Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. D, Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, Ohio. E, Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, Virginia, as I already told you. F, Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. G, Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. H, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. I, Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. J, Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. K, Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. L, Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. The Treasury is also a bank. All right. At Title 31 USC Section 321, it spells out that the Secretary of the Treasury is the CFO of the Treasury Bank. So this is why we send the information to the CFO of the Treasury Bank, which is the Secretary of Treasury, Washington, D.C. Who's the current Secretary of Treasury? Is Janet Yellen. My birth certificate is already a trade security that they are holding. So you are telling the trust or Treasury that I'm going to use a part of the funds that you have stolen from me my whole life. And this $100 trillion bond is the amount that I will deposit into my account via your precious minerals or precious stones or precious silver dollars specifically, which the silver dollar, 20 of them, the 21, the 22, Moors do 22. We take a picture of it and we attach that for our silver bond certificate, and we enter that and tell do a cover letter and make sure that they enter it into our UCC trust account so that we can discharge our debts against something that has real substance. All right. So these are the parties, these are the individuals who's over these banks. All right. And some of these might have changed by now, but we got Neil Kennan, lien claimant as settler for the global accounts, um, care of notary acceptance. We have Eric S. Rosengreen, CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. We have William Dudley, doing business as CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. We have Charles Plosler, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. We have Sandra Plananto, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. We have Jeffrey M. Lacker, CEO of Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond. We have Dennis Lockhart, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Charles Evans, Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. James Bullock, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, Missouri. We have Narayana Kokea Lokota, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. We have Esther George, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. We have Richard W. Fisher, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. We have John Williams, CEO, Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. So, The Creature from Jekyll Island. If you don't have this book, get it. All right, get this book by G. Edward Griffin. All right. The Federal Reserve Bank, also known as the Federal Reserve and informally known as the Fed, is the central banking system of the United States. It was created December 23rd, 1913, with the enactment of the Federal Reserve Act. Court rules Federal Reserve is privately owned. This is Lewis versus United States. All right. So if they try to say that they are part of the United States government, they are not. Court rules Federal Reserve Bank or Federal Reserve is privately owned. Well, who own it? Well, Thomas Jefferson or Moore. Now remember, Thomas Jefferson was a Moore. This painting here is Europeanized. They whitened him up, all right, or paled him up. John Adams claimed that Jefferson was the son of a half-breed Indian squaw and a Virginia mulatto father. Now, both of those are indigenous. Therefore, excuse the Europeanized version or painting to the left. Jefferson was concise in his early warning to the American nation. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and the corporation that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all their property until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered, or better yet, that their fathers were indigenous and aboriginal too. You can read this in my book, First World Order. You can read this in Sex and Race by J. Rogers. You can read this in Six Black Presidents by Osset Bakufu. In October of 1907, several banking firms started with the Knickerbocker Trust Company of New York collapsed as depositors withdrew funds for the fear of unwise investments and misuse of money. Lines of people waited in front of the Knickerbocker to close their accounts. Days later, the Trust Company of America had droves of depositors returning their money. Then shortly thereafter, a run took place in the Lincoln Trust Company. Across the country, apprehension that the panic would continue to spread occurred. In the fall of 1907, the United States were in recession. The following are the major players in the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank. Note, the shares that was issued to the Federal Reserve it was back in 1913, only cost $100. That was quite the bargain. You have Mayor M. Rothschild, who is said to have $600 trillion in gold in his basement alone. Of course, you know about John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller was financed by the Rothschilds. The Rockefeller was financed by the Rothschilds. According to Eunice Mullins, these banks were major stockholders in the Fed. In his book, World Order, he said that these 5 banks are controlling control from London. Mullins said, besides its controlling interest in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, the Rothschilds had developed important financial interests in other parts of the United States. The entire Rockefeller empire was financed by the Rothschilds. Permit me to issue and control the money of your nation. I care not who makes the laws. This is what Maya M. Rothschild said. So you get the book Titans, The Life of John D. Rockefeller Sr. by Ron Chernow. You get Paul Warburg, Senator Nelson Aldrich. Whoever controls the volume of money in any country is absolute master of all industry and commerce. This is what Paul Warburg said. He's the drafter of the Federal Reserve Act. You have Frank Vanderlip. You have Benjamin Strong. You have J.P. Morgan, and this is where it took place at. The Jekyll Island was at J.P. Morgan's mansion, all right, or villa, however you want to refer to it as. Then you have Henry P. Davidson and Charles D. Norton, right, using this information as the base in November of 1910 while meeting under the roofs of a duck shooting excursion. The financial experts were in reality hunting for a way to reconstruct the American banking system and eliminate the possibility of future economic panics. The hunters was major players in American mercantilism. All right, as we says, some of the names: Senator Nelson Aldrich, who had headed up the National Monetary Commission and a congressional committee dedicated to developing ideas for central banking. Frank Vanderlip of Rockefeller, so he represented the Rockefeller Foundation. National City Bank. Paul Warburg of the investment firm of Kung Loeb and Company, who was there to promote the German Central Bank of Bismarck. Charles Norton of First National Bank of New York, a Morgan company. So he represented J.P. Morgan, and Davidson, a partner of J.P. Morgan. From the start, the group proceeded covertly. In 1916, B.C. Forbes discussed the Jackal Convention in his book, Men Who Were Making America and the Illuminates. To this day, the financiers are Frank and Henry and Paul and Platt, and to another, and the late Senator Remain Nelson, to them until his death. Later, following the Jackal Convention, Benjamin Strong Jr., a magazine article from Forbes, is the only mention to the conference until around 1930, when Paul Warburg book came out, The Federal Reserve System: Its Origin and Growth, and Nathaniel Wright Stephenson book, Nelson W. Eldridge, A Leader in American Politics, were published. So now you get this. Plain and simple. The Federal Reserve is not part of the federal government. The Federal Reserve is not federal. It does not have any reserves. In fact, it is no more federal than Federal X or FedEx. It is privately held corporation owned by stockholders, as I already showed you that. That is why the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and all the others is listed on the Dun and Bradstreet Reference Book of American Business. Northeast Region 1, Manhattan, Bronx. According to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, only Congress has the right to issue money and regulate the values, so it is illegal for private interests to do so. Yet it happened, and because of the provision in the Act, the Class A stockholders were to be kept a secret and not to be revealed. All right, R.F. McMasters, who published a newsletter with the Reaper, through his Swiss and Saudi and Arabian contacts, were able to find out which bank held a controlling interest in the reserve. And I gave you those already. Get the book Secrets of the Temple, How the Federal Reserve Runs the Country, William Greder. Interest control the Federal Reserve through about 300 stockholders. The real owners of the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve System are the Rothschild Bank of London and Brazil and Berlin, the Laser Brothers Bank of Paris, Israel Moses Sith Bank of Italy, Warburg Bank of Hamburg and Amsterdam, the Lehman Brothers Bank of New York, the Column and Company of New York, Chase Manhattan Bank of New York, and Goldman Sachs of New York are the reportedly 203,053 stocks or shares in the New York Bank. Rockefeller's National City Bank holds 30,000 shares. Morgan First National Bank has 15,000 shares. Chase National Bank has 6,000 shares. National Bank of Commerce Morgan Guaranty Trust has 21,000 shares. A June 15, 1978 Senate report calls interlocking directorates amongst the major United States corporations reveals that the 5 New York banks have 470 interlocking directorates with 130 major United States corporations. The major ones is Citicorp, JP Morgan's, Chase Manhattan Bank, Manufacturer Hanover, and Chemical Bank. Right? These are the 5 New York banks that has 470 interlocking directorates with 130 major United States corporations. So, what you need a UCC financial statement to help correct all of your stuff and get your ass from up under this status. All right, to free yourself. All right, to free your mind so your ass can follow, as the great George Clinton said. So the UCC one financial statement, affidavit of copyright, trademark, trade name, affidavit of UCC attachment, affidavit of security agreement, affidavit of private agreement, affidavit of whole harmless indemnity clause, collateral listing, all property and assets, fidelity bond, affidavit of negative avertment, affidavit of denial of corporate status, affidavit of grant power of attorney, negotiable bill of exchange, negotiable bill of negotiable chargeback, private bond set off, optional form 90, release of lien of real property, optional form 91, release of personal property from escrow, standard form 28, affidavit of individual surety, civil bond certificate with colored picture of 20 to 22 recommended civil coins. On form 56, fiduciary relationship and fiduciary appointment letters to the United States Treasurer. All right, and it's not Jacob Lew anymore. We know it's Janet Yellen. All right. Attorney General, all right, new Attorney General, so you can remove all this, as well as also the Commissioner of the IRS. Accepted for value stamp for front and back of your birth certificate. A registered mail tab from the Postal Service, because the Postal Service is a treasury itself. That registered number becomes your UCC trust account number once your affidavit is sent off to the Secretary of Treasury. Contact the Register of Deeds or the Secretary of State of the Department of Commerce and fill in a UCC1 financial statement and list the property as collateral on the statement. The same can be done with the birth certificate, which is your claim and lienable property. You and only you can file the notice of lien. You and only you can determine the value of the property. The value of your UCC can be unlimited, but we rather not do that. We do $100 trillion. Right? So now you get the negotiable, right? We don't say non-negotiable any longer, accepted of value approved for payment. And this is actually in blue nowadays, not red. And we stamp this on the birth certificate, front and back at a 45-degree angle. Accepted for value returns it for value. There is no money to pay anything. The contracts are already in place. We are simply accepting the credit they have established and authorized them to set off the debt with the same credits. Written in proper bank speak, it is possible to set off unsecured debt items to the IRS and authorize. Now, this IRS, yes, they get a copy, but it's through the criminal division. Authorize the security of the Treasury to issue money orders to pay off these debts using your public side strawman security, social security number on the back side of the social security. Remember, that is the alphanumeric account number in your strawman name. That is your private account that can be drawn from. In other words, that is the IMF, International Monetary Fund. That is your prepaid levy bond number, as I just told you. Attached to the TIN, taxpayer identification number, the Tin Man. All right, who's looking for a heart. So now you give the heart back. All right, you do your nationality and give the brain, and you get your brain back. So you get your brain back from being the name in all caps, civilis mortuus, to now becoming in full life. That's why you do your nationality and your status correction. So you're no longer a dummy, no longer a straw man. Now you are in full life, God damn it. And by doing so, you help reduce the national debt. Note, the stamp shall be at a 45-degree angle. All right, so this is what I'm trying to explain to you. This is the science of what we're talking about. All right? Y'all get this? This is real. This is real. So you're either going to accept it or keep looking or keep listening to these dumbass Moors. They don't know a fucking thing. It's up to you. It's up to you. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get free. As I already said, George Clinton already said it best. Free your mind so your ass can follow. This is now ass following time, niggas. This is ass following time. You get it? Illuminate your mind so your ass can follow. All right. Yo. Continuing now for days, weeks, months, and years to come, we're moving towards our cherished goal of health, wealth, knowledge of ourselves, enlightenment, protection, security. Every action, enterprise, and endeavor in which we wish to be involved is bringing increasing rewards, better economic conditions, and full contentment. We have so much abundance, security, joy, and happiness, and abundance in our life that we're able to move forward towards the wonders of God and Goddess and the full release of our inner higher selves. Yo, we out of here. Peace.